What do a mighty castle, a giant sword, and some of the best gelato in Scotland have in common? In this episode, we begin in Stirling, exploring its legendary castle, then climbed a lot of steps to meet William Wallace, wandered the town like pros, then it was off to St Andrews, home of seaside ruins, epic gelato, and the most famous golf course in the world. Because history, legends, and golf are cool. But did we mention the gelato? We are our family adventures exploring Scotland for a third time. After an unforgettable week road tripping through the Scottish Highlands in a motorhome, we traded our home on wheels for a rental car and made our way to Stirling, a place we somehow skipped in our two previous Scotland trips. Not sure why we skipped it, because this place is packed with history. We were staying only one night, so as soon as we arrived, we headed straight up to Stirling Castle. And wow, we visited Edinburgh Castle before, but Stirling felt completely different. Less like a museum of battles, more like a living, breathing piece of royal drama. So this is our first time in Stirling, even though we've been to Scotland 2 times before, so our third time. And we always drove in front of Stirling Castle, and now we actually stopped to check it out. So far, it's beating Edinburgh Castle by a lot. And we've only been to the gardens. Come with us to check out everything else, and I'll talk a little bit about the history as we go along. The gardens outside were once part of the King's Knot, an elaborate royal garden dating back to the 17th century. These days, they're great for soaking in the views and pretending you're nobility. So over there, I think there's gonna be some Highland games. They're getting set up. Naturally, there are cannons, because what's a Scottish castle without a little over-the-top defense? Bonnie Prince Charlie tried to take this castle during the 1746 Jacobite uprising, but Stirling held its ground. So it's safe to say it's not easy sneaking past all those cannons. Stirling Castle's earliest records date back to the 12th century, with a royal chapel built by King Alexander I around 1110. However, much of the current structure dates back to the late 15th and 16th centuries, especially under the reigns of James IV, V, and VI. It was besieged at least 8 times, most famously during the Wars of Scottish Independence. Its strategic location near the River Forth made it a key military prize. Inside, the Great Hall is a stunner. Its hammer beam ceiling was reconstructed in the 1990s using medieval techniques, and it's one of the largest of its kind in Scotland. Back in the day, this was where kings hosted feasts, alliances were formed, and probably more than one dramatic toast happened. Inside the palace, you'll find the Stirling heads, which are like a 16th century who's who. They are carved wooden portraits of kings and queens, Roman emperors, and mythical figures. And they are replicas of the original Stirling heads, considered one of the finest examples of Renaissance art in Scotland. One of the most unique areas was the castle kitchen. It's been recreated with lifelike displays showing how food was prepared for hundreds of people during royal banquets. Picture full pigs, giant loaves, and very stressed-looking cooks. Basically a medieval episode of MasterChef. There's a fun dress-up area for kids, because there's no better way to learn history than in full medieval costume, pretending you're about to be knighted or lead your own mini rebellion. The royal apartments were home to Marie de Guise and young Mary, Queen of Scots. The rooms have been beautifully restored to reflect the 1540s court life, luxurious, colorful, and full of symbolism. Don't forget to look up. The ceilings are incredible, though you might need a chiropractor after all that gawking. We closed down the castle like royalty, then celebrated with some seriously good ice cream just outside the gates.
That's so sweet, baby. It's perfect.
Time for breakfast.
10 o'clock.
Alright, Gigi and I are splitting this avocado toast. Since she's not so hungry, I'm gonna eat most of it. And that's
The ham and cheese.
ham and cheese.
Salad.
That looks good. And what did you get?
A cookie.
That looks yummy. After breakfast, we had a little time to wander through Stirling. It's easily walkable and such a charming city to explore on foot, with cobbled streets and historic buildings. Basically, a good mix of Scottish old world with some modern. From there, we made our way to Stirling Bridge, the site of one of the most important battles in Scottish history. We're at Stirling Bridge, where a famous battle occurred here in Stirling back in 1297, I think. In 1297, William Wallace and Andrew Murray led a smaller Scottish force to a huge victory over the English army. The real battle happened on a very narrow wooden bridge, so when Hollywood gave Wallace an open field and no bridge at all in Braveheart, well, let's just say historical accuracy wasn't exactly the star of the show. We then headed over to the Wallace Monument, where you can get the full story, 246 steps at a time. Standing proudly above Stirling, the Wallace Monument is hard to miss. It's one of Scotland's most iconic landmarks, built to honor national hero William Wallace. Yep, that Wallace. Although the real one probably didn't wear face paint or shout freedom nearly as much as Mel Gibson did. The monument sits on Abbey Crag, a hill where Wallace supposedly watched the English army before the Battle of Stirling Bridge in 1297. You can walk up the hill to get there, but we took the free shuttle instead, because we're efficient. Not lazy, efficient. Once inside, it's 246 steps to the top. You will feel the burn, trust me. But the good thing is there are museum rooms along the way where you can catch your breath and pretend you're really into medieval strategy, and not just resting your legs. One of the coolest things you'll see is Wallace's actual sword. It's over 5 feet long, which makes you wonder, was he a giant or just trying to intimidate his enemies? Probably both, I guess. The view from the top is incredible. You can spot Stirling Castle, the River Forth, and if the weather's cooperating, even the Highlands in the distance. So we just went up the Wallace Monument. It's 246 steps up. It's hard, but you don't really feel it because there's like 3 levels that you stop at. So first level, middle, top, and then just a few more towards the actual outer area. Pretty cool visit. Of course, after all that exploring, we had to browse through the gift shop, as there is no better way to commemorate a 13th century warrior than with a magnet. Now we would have taken the shuttle back down, but it was off on its lunch break, so we walked. Thankfully, going down is much easier. Plus, we got to spot a bunch of wooden miniatures of the monument and other sculptures along the way, turning it into a fun little woodland walk. After all those stairs and walking, we grabbed lunch at the cafe near the base. We decided to grab a quick snack before we go on the road, just a little something, sandwich. I couldn't resist the soup even though it's so hot outside, but I love soup. And then orange citrus cake. Alright, we're running a bit behind. Time to hit the road to St Andrews. But first, a little detour in Falkland, Kingdom of Fife. We meant to leave for St Andrews right after breakfast, but as per usual, we lingered longer than planned in Stirling. Luckily, Scottish summer days are long, so there's plenty of daylight left to explore. Outlander fans might recognize this street and fountain. Falkland stood in for 1940s to 1960s Inverness in the show. We'd been here before, so this time we just made a quick stop to revisit a few familiar spots. We have finally arrived in St Andrews. Our plan was to get here earlier in the day from Stirling, but we didn't have time to see the Wallace Monument yesterday, so we went ahead and did that earlier. It was very warm in Stirling and we were sweating. But it's freezing here. So behind me is the St Andrews Cathedral, and then to the left here is St Andrews Castle, so we'll maybe check that out. And then we're gonna go see if we can look at the golf course. From here, we're gonna head over to Pitlochry. St Andrews Cathedral was once the largest church in Scotland, and even in ruins, it's very impressive. It dates back to the 1100s, and walking through the site, you can still see the scale and beauty of what it used to be. It was abandoned during the Scottish Reformation and then attacked by Protestant reformers. Much of its stones were reused in other parts of town. St Andrews Castle was once home to bishops and archbishops, and it's seen everything from sieges to secret tunnels and even a prison carved into the rock. We didn't make it inside this time since it was already closed for the day, but luckily you can still get a great view of it right from the sidewalk. After exploring the cathedral and castle, we wandered through the streets of St Andrews, and it's every bit as charming as you'd imagine, with historic buildings, cozy cafes, and plenty of laid-back seaside vibe. St Andrews is also home to Scotland's oldest university, where Prince William and Kate Middleton met while studying in the 2000s. It is also ranked in the top 5 universities in the UK. And then we discovered Janetta's Gelato, hands down the most delicious gelato we've ever had. Creamy and flavorful and absolutely worth the hype. If you're in St Andrews, do not skip this place. This bottom one is amazing. I got salted caramel on top. We stopped over at this ice cream place, and it's wonderful. I think one of the best ice creams I've ever had. I got the mascarpone cherry and salted caramel. I wish I had gotten 2 of the I mean, they're both good, but the mascarpone cherry is delicious.
I got the Ferrero Rocher in a roast banana. And these two flavors, they are so good. This place they call Janetta Gelato. It's from 1908.
We couldn't leave St Andrews without checking out the Old Course, the most famous and oldest golf course in the world. Even if you're not into golf, it's worth seeing it at least for the history. Golf's been played here since the early 1400s, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. We didn't play around, but we did want to see the Swilcan Bridge, that iconic little stone bridge you've probably seen on TV during the Open. We just left St Andrews golf course. We were just looking from the sidewalk and snapping a couple of pictures. We are heading to our hotel. We're staying at the Fisher's Hotel. It's our first time staying there, and we'll see if we can have some dinner there. That ice cream we just had was so good. Oh my gosh, I wish I could come back to St Andrews to have some more. We all spoil our dinners, right? Yeah. Philippi is supposed to have some pretty good ones too, so we'll show you what there is to do there tomorrow. Our Scotland adventures aren't over yet. We will spend 2 days in Pitlochry and then head over to Aberdeenshire, an area we've never explored before. So stick around because there's plenty more to come. If you liked this video, don't forget to like, leave us a comment, and subscribe so that you get notifications and don't miss any of our world adventures.